رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you very much, Pengurusi Majlis. I know some of you speak Bahasa, so you know when I say Pengurusi, it means DMC. I would really like to thank all the Pro-Vice Chancellors and Vice Chancellors, distinguished scholars, respected dignitaries, not just from Malaysia, but also actually from the ARC Party, the ASEAN, as well as from the Chief Advisory's Office and University of Dhaka, because all of you here, if it's okay to call you my fellow comrades in solidarity and struggle, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam perjuangan, salam hormat. And I love that just now the word sovereignty was mentioned, because we in the global south must reaffirm our sovereign right to craft our destiny, inshallah. So it's a profound honor to receive this invitation. I'm Deputy President of the party, so I had to cancel a few meetings with the President, and I said, I'm very sorry, but today we choose Bangladesh because we want to celebrate this pivotal first international conference on the July Revolution. So it is such a historic moment. For every one person present, you have to make sure at least 50 others share in the spirit and camaraderie, because that's how you ensure movements last. And of course, we are here in honor of the heroes and heroines that we commemorate today. Now, this campus, not just, I think, the oldest here, much older than many campuses in Malaysia, steeped in the blood, sweat, and ideals of freedom, has once again emerged as a symbol of conscience and as well as renewed hope. Tagore once said, "He only has freedom who ideally loves freedom himself and is glad to extend it to others. He who cares to have slaves must chain himself to them. And he who builds walls to create exclusion for others builds walls across his own freedom. And he who distrusts freedom in others loses his moral right to it. And for every he, there is a she, because we are in this together." So I speak to you in reverence of a revolution that has shaken the soil of South Asia, the July Revolution of 2024. But I also speak to you as a fellow proud Asian, your Malaysian comrade, political activist, and on behalf of Malaysia's People's Justice Party. And I speak to you also in sadness, yet defiant and unshaken in recalling and harnessing the courage of your youth, the sufferings endured in voicing their longing for dignity, justice, and how today is part and parcel in living and building up to a nation's renewed promise. And unfortunately, the hard work begins. Comrades, we're also meeting at the back of so much global suffering, the enabling of the ongoing genocidal onslaught on Gaza by the hegemons and their ilk remind us of the need. We need to strengthen solidarity and reaffirm our moral positioning and autonomy. Our thoughts also turn to the families affected by the tragic crash of the Bangladesh Air Force training jet into Milestone School and College on July 21st. And we make dua, Allahumma ighfir lahum warhamhum wa'afihi wa'fu anhum. Ameen ya Rabbal Alamin. So indeed, friends and comrades, we do live in such trying times. But instead of despair, it should embolden our collective resolve to chart a path forward in true sovereignty and solidarity. Now, I wanted to share the story of Malaysia's own student movement, but while recognizing the courage that is shown to the July Revolution. Students worldwide are often dismissed as apathetic, yet history reveals them as society's moral vanguard. A people's awakening in history of July teaches us that revolutions are never born in isolation. Vice Chancellor spoke just now. They emerge from the deep fracture of injustice, the prolonged silence of the oppressed, and the collective hunger for dignity. It did not happen overnight. You saw the brutal clampdown on dissent, silencing of student leaders, manipulation of elections, and the erosion of trust in every institution that was meant to serve the people. So I really want to thank the University of Dhaka for shedding further light into the seeds of the revolution, and inshallah from the wonderful series of speakers, we get a sense of what is needed to move forward. Now, while each movement is unique in its own right, Malaysia had its own 1974 Baling protests, where student leaders, including Malaysia's current Prime Minister, led the movement for students in championing the plight of farmers against starvation in Kedah. Now, this was in response to harrowing media reports of the people in Baling dying from starvation due to extreme poverty. A lot of them were detained for 22 months in draconian laws. But with sustained public pressure, you get the focus in rural development. So it's all about making sure there's balance. We're not just focused on the cities, right? Which is the focal point of the studies, the Asamoglu in Why Nations Fail. But you kind of look into, it will take a different formula, a different set of priorities and development plan if you want to focus on the rural kampungs or villages, as they call in Malaysia. So your July Revolution reminds us stability without justice is fragile. And it was not just a protest, but it really became the avenue, rebirth of the nation's spirit, the rupture in the architecture of fear. And it's a reminder that at the end of the day, any regime, no matter how powerful, cannot stand against the will of an awakened people. So if I may, I wanted to share some of the suggestions based on our own humble experience. And remember, every nation will continue to go through its set of challenges. That's why the younger generation, the Gen Alphas, the Gen Zs here, it's really incumbent on you because it's going to be your future. It's going to be something that you have to embark on and you have to take up. And for me, some of the key steps moving forward should include economy empowerment. I wanted to draw attention to the lessons between Malaysia's Amanah Ikhtiar Malaysia, which is a microcredit program, and Grameen. Why? So Amanah Ikhtiar, which is Malaysia's largest microcredit organization, was set up 5 years after Grameen. And since 1987, we have disbursed 2.3 billion ringgit Malaysia to 262,000 borrowers with a 99.2% repayment rate, the world's highest. Alhamdulillah. So it's inspired by Prof. Yunus, but it's also crucial because every time we talk about FDI, every time we talk about economic development, about investing and getting billions, don't forget the billions here and the people here also need money immediately. So AIM's holistic impact showcases, and their target was women. So they empower female heads of households. And for me, of course, it's an important microcredit story. Now, coming back to the issue, the story from Dhaka to Kuala Lumpur, I then want to move on to share some of Malaysia's own experiences. I was surprised because some of the professors here were very well versed with the reformasi movement. And you know, it's really interesting when it first was ignited in 1998 that the Sri Anwar Ibrahim's persecution transformed streets into classrooms of resistance. And we took over an existing political party, a multiracial party at the time by 1999, since the regime blocked the creation of new political parties on ideals mirroring your own July Revolution, free speech, institutional checks, electoral integrity, and economic justice for all. And as you can see, if you got some of you follow the Malaysian news online, the opposition just held a demonstration, most of them still wrangling with corruption charges, but much space was accorded without the water cannon for free speech. So in my lifetime, at least, I saw a reversal from the earlier Mahathirist years of demonstrating to today. And it's important not for the political parties, it's important for Malaysians. And are all reforms done? Certainly not, because every generation will have to continue to struggle, and that is how life is led. We must appreciate history, we live in the present, and we remain fully committed, inshallah, towards building a better future. So 2 decades of endurance through detentions and defeats, because we lost many elections. I personally lost the 22 general elections. And then we came together in a federal coalition of political parties. But it also eventually culminated with the 2018 democratic transition. So for every revolution, you cannot expect one single moment defining history to be enough. It's horrible, but you know, it is, and it will take a series of sacrifices, like-minded support, including the ability to harness existing strengths. So what do I mean with this? I mean coalition building with people you don't like. So I'm not talking about Bangladesh, I'm not touching your political arena, I'm talking about what we did in Malaysia. And we had, of course, a recent political turbulence, 3 prime ministers in 5 years, but it offers critical lessons. Because in the 2018 general elections, you saw leaders who collectively spent more than a decade in prison by their chosen de facto leader made that decision. Made that decision to prioritize nation over what was done to me. The torture, the oppression, the injustice. And of course, people will say, well, you still had to go through a series of betrayals. But then it helps you understand, once you overcome your ego for personal power, benefit, what have you, and you start practicing in your mind, in your deed, in your actions, the country means more. The country is more important. The general public and the masses, they don't have time for your personal issues. Then you get a healthier ecosystem, a healthier environment to ensure the best talents. And meritocracy alone is not enough. You must also have a means-tested program so that the most vulnerable, perhaps those stuck in lower income areas, not everyone will have access to the best universities, am I right? Some people would have parents in prison. Some people would have difficulty after intergenerational trauma. You must ensure there are sufficient robust safety nets to lift not just those who have access to the best that the world can offer, but those who need to at least have equal opportunity in doing so. Questions, inshallah. I mean, I have to thank my own reformasi journey because I grew up as a prefect. I grew up as a scouts. So you see only good people, good behavior around you. And then when my father was in prison, I went to prison to visit him, but I saw more than just the visits. I saw so many people from the lower income group. They didn't have enough money to pay for transportation so they can visit their loved one who is in prison. They don't have enough money to even pay for legal support. So that's why prison reform became one of the priorities when I was members of parliament, because it's not just about you. It's about your experiences and how you can try to tweak and improve the experiences of many others who remain voiceless. Now, the next question I want to ask all of you, as much as you want rights, freedom of speech, electoral sovereignty, I think we can't lose sight of economic sovereignty, because you also want to make sure whatever successes in terms of this new convivencia, this new ecosystem where political parties, where student movements, where activism can live side by side, succeed, and is sustainable, is through economic sovereignty. Now, the question of how do we ensure our pension fund for Malaysia is the Employees Provident Fund. They are huge. They cover up to 60% of the workforce, and they provide for better days to come once you retire. So they then also help buy government debt to lessen high degree and percentage of foreign debt. And they remain Malaysia's most trusted institution to date. So the concern now is every single time we have engagements with them, how do you tackle the 40% in the informal sector? People talk about the gig economy. Inshallah, Malaysia by next month will introduce a new law governing the gig workers. Why is it important? When you're doing your work, if you meet with an accident, are you protected? What happens to your right? Not just the company's right to utilize your hours in a modern slavery-like system just to make things convenient for customers. Our PNB Sovereign Wealth Fund, using unit trust and nationalized plantations, you secure revenue from natural resources, is reinvested and enjoyed by the many, not the few, where farmers as well as planters hold equity. So I'm just saying to all of you, today, as you celebrate, the hard work remains, because even if you speak about your petroleum resources, how do you make sure that is downstream development capability? We've had experience, of course, with Petronas, and the issue is this should be harnessed. This is belonging to the people of Bangladesh, and you don't want, because you don't have the time to develop, you are at the mercy of big multinationals who sometimes or most times don't care about the plight of average Bangladeshis. So ladies and gentlemen, comrades, we move to the path forward. We honor the July Revolution sacrifices, and I hope that first we ground politics in principle, where you can serve with justice, compassion, and integrity. And it's important also, at the end of the day, to work together. I see a lot of diaspora, Bangladeshi diaspora coming, and I think it's important. It requires, they call it, it takes a whole village, right? But it really does. For any movement to take place, there's so many complex problems in today's world. Take your pick. issues of working conditions, issues of economic development. Is the FDI you're getting, is it fair and does it help local enterprises? Issues of efficiency, issues of fighting corruption. Corruption, my goodness, it's not just the politicians at fault. It's also the deep state. It's also the different layers of human beings who forget sometimes they should be human and caring, but care more about profit than sharing. And of course, as mentioned earlier, you leverage diversity. I think this is a bit more challenging in a world where everything's become an echo chamber. You just watch your social media, you only talk to the people like you. You hardly see things that you dislike. You hardly meet people who are different because that is the algorithm, again, set up by the powers that be. And this powers that be makes you question, are we really in control? And that's how regulations, control and management of the usage of social media should take centerpiece in any government's minds. So I wanted to state that there is a rising generation across the global south wielding new ideas and unity against weapons to fight outdated systems. I'm asking, please let us share vision, prioritizing justice over profit, indigenous wisdom over foreign templates, and global solidarity over isolation. You must have a working industrial policy. I remember when Malaysia first came out with our own industrial policy, we were attacked by the West by not embracing the market economy enough. But everyone knows the weaknesses and failures of the market economy when it goes rampant, when it allows greed to go crazy just during the pandemic. I don't think we want to be like that. We want to make sure that we have enough degree of safety nets to provide for our people. Bangladesh's triumph today becomes Nigeria's blueprint tomorrow and Malaysia's imperative next. Our fates, inshallah, always intertwined in struggle and solidarity. I hope by exchanging knowledge and standing united in pain and victory, we redefine power for the marginalized. The July Revolution ignited a beacon of change, so we must continue to champion economic dignity, uphold student-led conscience, build coalitions anchored in sincerity, not expediency or reduced expediency, having a clear-cut sense of industrial policy, protect your sovereign wealth, and always be on the lookout for political and policy risks. May justice be your compass, courage your currency, and freedom your eternal flame. Inkilab Zindabad. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing